All right, welcome back. It is Monday, and you know what that means. That's Monday motivation. And every Monday we motivate you. I bring different individuals to bring tangible resources, but the month of April is all about men, mind, body, the blueprint to well being. And part of this movement for the month of April was that I really wanted to bring fundamental resources, different individuals, messengers, amazing people who have tangible resources for my audience, but specifically for the men for the month of April. And, I think part of that, as I send out emails and connect with different people, one of the levels of interest that I had to bring some tangible resources to my audience was financial wellness. I mean, that's all part of healing, right? And this is the Who's Helping You Heal channel. And part of that financial wellness and tapping into that, it is not my bag or expertise. So it's always important for me to bring different individuals in who can really shine on that. And today, I have a financial wellness whiz. You heard it right. The channel is Nia's Perspective, and you're going to get more information. You already saw the partnership spotlight by now that aired last week. And a big part of me bringing this individual through is that I really appreciate how they speak on financial wellness, how they decipher it, right? They do not bring a bunch of documents and things to your face. They actually make it interactive for us. So today I have Nia from Nia's Perspective, Nia Adams from Nia's Perspective channel. I'm going to give him a little camp applause real quick just to bring him in the room. And Nia, you know what the topic is, right? You know what we're talking about here today, and that is money spending and healing from it, the mistakes that we make, right? We all need money in our life to survive, to take care of ourselves. But in that, sometimes we get hurt by it, right? Just by the different things that we go through while we hold money. Sometimes we get hurt when it leaves too fast. Sometimes, sometimes I think we get hurt when we can't pay a bill on time. So, in saying that, I think there's more levels to that. And why I wanted to bring you to the building, into this platform for Monday Motivation, was allow you to cook it up for us and give us some tangible resources. So, thank you, Nia, for joining us. You know the topic. What you got for us today?
Thank you so much for having me. First, I appreciate everything that you're doing. This is a topic that is near and dear to me. So, me personally, I had my own ups and downs with money, bankruptcy, foreclosure, had to start over from rock bottom, I'm going to say at least two times in my life. And so, as I navigated this journey and went through it, that's when I learned a lot of these things. Money mistakes for a lot of people, it haunts them. It stops them
Mhm.
from being able to take action. So instead of taking action, they avoid it. And they avoiding it does not make it disappear. It doesn't make it stop just because you're not looking at it. It actually makes it pile up. So now you have this big mountain, and now you really don't know where to do, where to start, how do I do it? And now it feels impossible. And that right there has stopped a lot of people from making the necessary steps to achieve financial stability. So for me personally, one of the things that I typically tell people about money mistakes is everybody has one. It's like an opinion.
Mhm.
Everybody has money mistakes. If you talk to somebody who say that they have never made any money mistakes, run and run as fast as you can. Because I don't care if you talk to Warren Buffett, Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, all of them have made money mistakes. I guarantee you they have wins, but I'm sure there were losses that came along with it because we're not perfect. A lot of us are building the mold. We are the first one in our family to make this amount of money. We are the first one in our family to break down these barriers. So, how are you supposed to get everything perfect? How are you supposed
Mhm.
to just magically know how everything is supposed to work? From where? From who? How? If you're out here navigating in the daylight with a flashlight, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to have to make detours. You're going to have to make adjustments. And that's what I think a lot of people have to realize when it comes to money. It's no different. If you were to ride a bike and learn how to ride a bike, when you first got on that bike, did you ride it correctly? Did you get it
Mhm.
right, or did you fall? You scraped your knee, you had to get back on there. You started with training wheels, you took your training wheels off. Why would your money journey be any different? It's the same process. So we need to change our mindset, our perspective and realize
Mhm.
that that's the way that your money journey will look. And when we accept that, it helps us. One, it makes it more achievable to us. It makes it possible to us, which is the first
Mm,
step in actually achieving something. When you know that it's possible for you, you'll attack it differently. You'll even take the actions that go along with it differently. When you feel like you
mm,
can't do something, you don't have the energy behind it, you always make up excuses why you can't do it. You procrastinate about it. But when you know you
mm,
can do something and it's comfortable to you, you like, oh, let me just knock this out real quick. So it's all a mind thing. And so for me, that's the thing that I want people to realize about money mistakes. Give yourself grace. Who said you were supposed
mm,
to be perfect? Nobody
mm,
said you're supposed to be perfect. Nobody says that you have to be. So that I think is one of the most important topics when it comes to money mistakes. And once people get past that point, okay, now
mm.
it's time to look at where you are. Because see, a lot of people start off and they want to start just right away budgeting. But when was your first conversation that you had about money? How do you currently think about money? Like
Mhm.
money is one of the biggest reasons that couples divorce.
Mm,
But when you think about it, we're not taught to have regular money conversations. So talking about money used to be taboo. You didn't talk about money. You didn't talk about money with anybody. So all of those things have now cultivated into who we are as adults. These money
mm,
habits didn't just develop. They could have came from when you were younger. They could have come from how you saw your parents use money. Watching them
mhm.
use money will teach you how you think money is supposed to be used. And
So true.
sometimes you're gonna do one or the other. You're either going to do the exact same or you're gonna do the exact opposite. You know how everybody has somebody that's like, oh, well, I'm not gonna be like my mother, or I'm not gonna be like my parent. I'm gonna do the opposite because I'm not gonna. So it's the same thing with money habits because what they did with money taught you. If you were somebody who was always spoiled and you got everything, you didn't see or know that it was work. Like, yes, you were getting the things you wanted, but how much work went into getting that. So maybe you didn't learn time
Mhm.
value of money, you know? So you have to start sitting and thinking, when did you first have money conversations? When were you exposed to money? And when did you talk about money? Did you get education on money? And if the answer to all of those things is non-existent, then how are you supposed to be an expert? Like how? So when you process that, I think that will help you start the process, start
Mhm.
overcoming the fact that, okay, I made a mistake. Like it's okay.
See, this is why I wanted to bring Nia on my channel. She's cooking, she's dropping a lot of gems, and I'm sifting through it. And you mentioned a couple things, Nia, and that was the avoidance and the perfection. And I'm thinking of the spectrum of those two things, almost sitting on the opposite side of the streets, right? But almost complementing each other in the wrong way, right?
Mhm.
Because that avoidance is so easy to tap into, especially around money conversations. Because I think there's this thing with humans that they want this perception of everything's all together. And so for me, and I'll speak for myself, I'm a lot better now. But earlier in my years, um, there was this mentality of the avoidance, but it was in the space of spending because I was like, oh, I'm going to make that again.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's a different level of avoidance, right? Of
Mm-hmm.
realizing what I'm doing there. And then when you mentioned the perfection of like, people trying to be perfect with their budget and not giving themselves the grace, that is so true. Because when I talk to different people about money and things like that, when things don't fall in the way they want, they're almost punishing themselves,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
then financially rewarding themselves by doing shopping therapy.
Uh,
So I guess for those people who get a little lost in between the avoidance, the perfection, right? And they feel trapped. They're like, they're almost double dutching between the two. Like, how do I, for the folks who don't know double dutch, it's a rope game that people play, and you decide when to come in and out. Because I said it in one of my segments, and I had folks ask me, "What is double dutching?" So just to clarify that. So in saying that, how do those people are in between or at each end of those streets? What is Nina's thoughts on those individuals and how they can get out that cycle?
so first, I want to say I wish I could tell you that you're going to learn everything today, and it's going to take you 2 weeks, and you're going to learn it, and then from then on, you're going to be the next mogul. But it doesn't work like that. In reality, your financial journey is not linear. It's like a roller coaster. So you're going to still have times where you fall off. You're still going to have times, but that's why it's important to educate yourself and not just educate yourself on this is how you budget. You have to educate yourself on how money works. And speaking of avoidance and perfection, there are things called money scripts. Money scripts describe your habits with money, and there are four very popular ones: money avoidance, money vigilance, money worship, and money status. And so you can kind of, some of it is self-explanatory, but there are
Hmm.
different habits that come along with different ones. So, for example, money status, people who feel like the tangible things they have equate to their worth. They think the amount of money they have determines how much they are worth, which your net worth is not your self-worth. But some people,
Hmm.
that's the image that they were put, and that's how they perceive things about money. So that's how they interact with money. And you'll see this as the person who always has to have the new car. The car has a $2,000 money car note, but they want this
Hmm.
car and they feel they have to have this car, even though they're bleeding financially. So, to that, I would say those people have to first get to know yourself because personal finance is just that, it's personal. It's a self-awareness journey. It's you taking the time to learn about yourself and do the work. So as you learn about yourself, you'll start to get more insight into your money habits. So that's where you can learn to make corrections, adjustments, and keep what's good and make adjustments to what you're like, oh yeah, this is probably not helping me. So it's a journey. Like I say, I wish I could tell you like, oh, okay, you just do these two things, click three times, knock on the door, and bam, that's it. That's all. Give me, pay me. But it just doesn't work like that. And so this is one of the reasons I've gotten deeper into the mental part of money because all of it is fueled mentally. If you've tried to budget several times and it just hasn't worked, because like you said, they're trying to be perfect. They feel like they should have been in this place. I'm 30, I'm 40. I should have had this by now. Says who? Who told you this? Like who created this that told you you should have had this by this time? Please point them out and then tell them
Hmm.
to pay one of your bills so you can get there. Because if they're not, who cares what they said? And so that's part of the thing. And then you have, social media. So a lot
Hmm.
of people watch people on social media and then they judge their life based on someone else's highlight reel, which that don't equate. 60
Hmm.
seconds, 60 minutes, 60 seconds, 24 hours. They don't match. The math
Hmm.
is not mathing. So you can't do that. So I think that playing the game of keeping up with the Joneses and competing with the Johnsons, it will never be fruitful. So I think that it's a process that they'll have to start to dig deep within themselves and get to know themselves to learn where is this coming from? Because yes, you're going to get retail therapy, but why? What are you upset about? Why do you need the retail therapy? What's wrong? Because the retail therapy is going to be temporary. It's going to come back.
Yeah.
And then it might be double because now you might have buyer's remorse because you just spent your rent money. So it's not necessarily helping, but why did you need the therapy in the first place? Why? Why? What was wrong? Start at the root, essentially.
You you said so many things there. Like there's layers to what you're saying, and I know that I'm always one to find the advice and the tangible resources. And what I got from you there is that everything doesn't always have a tangible resource or a tangible like do this step and it's going to solve everything, right? But what I did get from you was once again the patience with all the processing. There's always like the patience with it, right? And understanding that there's ebbs and flows with it. Like as much as you want to just to elevate upward, that bad boy might drop one day. And you have
Hmm.
to, that same motivation and passion you keep when it's going upward, when it drops, you have to maintain that level of it, right? Because what I see sometimes is that thing drop on people and they drop with it.
Hmm.
And then they live in that mindset of that moment of that ebb as opposed to the flow, right? But bigger thoughts, as you were talking in the end there and the things you were sharing, it made me think of like how money empowers us, but how money also sometimes suffocates us or becomes the oasis in the desert to us, where we see all the beauty in it, but sometimes that beauty isn't real.
Hmm.
So in saying that part, Nia, and saying like I guess your own personal feeling on it, your own personal journey, knowing and kind of sharing that piece of like how money can empower you, right? And give you the things you want. But then there's the opposite of that empowerment where it might not be as beneficial to you. Even or maybe the way you use it, vice versa. Any thoughts on that, the opposite sides of those two? I know we're focusing on the money mistakes and how we can heal from it, right? It also makes me think of like just understanding money in that granular view of, yeah, it has all the empowerment. We know, yeah, it's going to give you the things you need. But then there's the other side of it. And I don't think we speak to the other side of it a lot, if you get where I'm going.
Correct. But so I want to slightly disagree with you. I think
Yeah.
it's a mindset thing. It's not the money giving you. That's where the mindset is wrong. You are the CEO of your wallet. Your money can only do what you tell it to do. So it's not the money doing anything. The money is not empowering you. You're empowering your money. So if you don't go buy this car, the money can't go pay the car note. When you went and bought the car, when you went and bought the house, you gave your money that job to go pay that car note, to go pay that mortgage. If you didn't go buy the car, the money wouldn't be going to pay any car notes. So you are the one who is the CEO of your own wallet. So it's not the money empowering you. Now, we do live in a capitalistic society, and kind of to your point, money looks beautiful because that's what's been presented to us.
Mhm.
That's what's been laid out for us so nicely. Like I remember the old school commercials when we was younger, like even the milk commercial. Like if you want to be big and strong, and they will have the young boy and then they have the big teenager and they make the big teenager look really big if you drink milk like me. And then 10 years later, oh well, milk will cause cancer. You probably shouldn't drink. Well, you've been presenting it like it was the best thing on earth.
Mhm.
Cigarettes, like we could go down the line. And that's one of the things I like to go through people also is teaching them the marketing tactics that are used to make you feel that way and make you feel like you need the newest phone and make you feel like you just have to have these chargers that are in Marshall's Lane that you have to walk through in order to check out. Like it's all set up to make you spend and create a spending society. And then we're in a microwave society. I can think of something right now, and by the time we get off this call, it's at my front door. This is the society that we live in. Like I've always said, I want to do that in one of my speaking engagements. Order something at the beginning of the session and by the
Yeah.
end of the session and tell them, let them in. Tell them to let them in and come to the stage so they can see literally, I just thought about this at the start and now it's here in my hand. This creates the thing that instant gratification is normal and it's not. So I think that that plays to like when you change your mindset. So that's why my
Yeah.
business is perspectives. When you change your money perspectives, you start to think about things differently.
Mm. Love that. I so love that. And I have no problem you disagreeing with me because sometimes I'm gonna ask you questions just so I can get a disagreement out of it sometimes. Because what I try to bring is maybe some of the thoughts I've heard from other folks. I
Hmm.
coach a lot of younger people, right?
Hmm.
And I totally agree with you, the mindset of things, because you could be, financially the poorest person, but your mindset can be so rich.
Hmm.
Everything, right? And your mindset dictates a lot of that, where it lands, where it's at, how it feels. And you could be surviving off of like miracle sandwiches.
A lot of people who are like travel the world, you will find a lot of people who are just the happiest of people, which in your mind, they don't have much, but in their
Mm,
mind, they have everything.
mm, yeah. So, I know this is about right our mistakes we make financially and maybe the wounds that it creates just from like, going through the motions of finances and stuff. I guess in terms of, the healing space and maybe your practices, work that you've done with individuals, I mean, I guess we're at the end of our segment here, getting towards the end of our segment. What is the one, two tangible resources on maybe you saw individuals find success in doing, or maybe a tool or resource you share? Because I told y'all Nia was going to cook today. I told y'all that. And we just got started. Like, this is a shorter segment, but of course, I'm gonna bring Nia back to this segment again and again as much as I can to provide these great resources because I'm a big believer in, especially Nia, I just want to share, and I know you know this, like the way you speak about it is razor sharp. And it is so inspiring because you're so passionate about it. So I just want to plug that in before we keep moving to the tangible
Thank
resources.
you.
But thank you for being here. But the tangible resources piece around healing and maybe some tools you've seen or tools you provided to clients that successfully help them get past some of their wounds. And right, healing is an ongoing process. It does not stop. So I want to give you the floor for the 1, 2 tangible resources.
So the first resource I'm going to give, some people might not like it. It might almost be a financial curse word. It's a budget. I know, I know, I know, I know. Don't throw anything at the at the screen. But it's a budget. And what I want them to understand is that for one, there is more than one way to budget. So simply, like I said, personal finance is personal. You have to find a budgeting method that works for you. If your budgeting method is, oh my God, I get paid tomorrow, let me write down all the bills I got to pay between this pay period and next pay period. You made a plan for your money. Congratulations. You made a budget. Just as simple as that. So it's like not thinking that it has to be this mathematical equation rounding up the two with the square root of, and it's not that. It's simply you identifying where you are. And I know that's a vulnerable process. So a lot of people, they don't really like to look at those numbers and put them out on their face, but you will feel so relieved when you know where you are. To me, that's one of the best feelings. It's a tangible resource because sometimes you do that and they're not. I've had clients that come to me, we're our own worst critic. So I've had clients that come to me and they're like, oh, this, and I'm like, let me Google the average for you to show you, like, it's not me saying it. Look at what statistics said. The average is that you are above. You're doing okay. So I think that that's the first tangible resource is budgeting. If you need to take a deep breath, if you need to break it into multiple days and make it digestible, you know, do what you need to do. But I think that's always going to be a tangible resource that I suggest. Second, I would say is changing up your timeline and your algorithm,
Mm.
getting and removing negative, get rich quick, um, and just stuff that tells you that it's going to be a super fast process. Or if anybody on your timeline that when you see their stories or their content, you get a little bit of slice of envy or jealousy, delete them off your timeline. Because comparison is the thief of joy. And so while you're on your journey, and like you said, you have the ebbs and the flows. When the ebbs, you don't need that negativity in your life right now. You don't
Mm.
need anything to make you get discouraged on this journey. So I would say those are two, changing your algorithm, which is what you're consuming every day, and getting a budget to clearly identify where you are. You'll be surprised how those two steps will change your mindset completely because now you know where you are and now you're putting more positive feeding into yourself. You know what I'm saying? So,
For sure, Nia. And I love those 2 tangible resources. And I think obviously, and maybe it's not obvious. So I shouldn't say obviously, I think of budget. I'm like, man, that's the foundation. Like yeah, that's the thing I'm thinking about, but also, I also know that everybody might not think that way, right? It's not a universal thought in terms of that budget and setting it. And then I love the way you said change the algorithm, and it makes me think of a few things I said in a couple other segments with a couple other partners in heart work is about like, wanting new results but staying in the same patterns.
mm-hmm,
And that's what I kind of
mm-hmm,
got from you, like, that algorithm, the things that you take in, because you're right, sometimes, and I love you said it, comparing is the thief of joy. Did you say?
mm-hmm. Comparison,
Okay.
yes.
Comparison. That is straight fire. Because I think a lot of humans just live in that space. And it's either the keeping up with the Joneses or what was it, Johnsons. Is
Competing with the Johnsons. I have all kind of
yeah, I clocked them. I might ask you to, tell me them again, but those all were great gems in terms of like when we're talking about money and finances and the conversations and the lack of conversations, but also trying to find healing in at the whole time during the process. And as long as you're breathing and alive, you're gonna need money, you know? So you gotta have some healing. So Nia, I appreciate you so much for coming through for Monday Motivation. We're going to give Nia another camp clap for all the gems she dropped today. And of course, this is Monday Motivation. We use today to motivate you for the rest of the week, right? And we want to give you some gems, some food for thought to get you going. And I feel like Nia came through and absolutely dropped gems. You probably want to rewind some things because the gems were just that great. So, for the rest of this week, on Wednesday, we will be back for Mental Health Minute. And on Friday, we will be back for Friday Transformation. And of course, we're going to bring Nia's perspective back for another Friday Transformation, bring on the opposite side of our segments. And you know what my last words are. Who's helping you heal, y'all? Peace.